Welcome to a special edition of the Carolina Weather Group on location. James Brierton here with Frank Strait, and we are at the Schiele Museum of Natural History in Gastonia, North Carolina, for yet another wonderful weatherproof event. We'll be talking to the organizer, Candace Jordan, coming up in just a few minutes, and we'll also be talking with your Dayside colleague, Melissa Griffin, from South Carolina Climate Office. So we are here. We saw so many of you, Frank, came out to see us in Gastonia for today's event. We know Jay was here and other Carolina Weather Groupies, and what are some of the things that everyone who's come out to the Schiele Museum has been able to take part in today, Frank?
Well, I think the weather demonstrations has probably been the best part of it here, including the fire NATO. We had a small fire tornado, pyro tornado, I think is the technical term for those things, that large fire whirls that occur and actually become more like a true tornado when they get big enough in large wildfires. In addition to that, a lot of weather safety talk and in the severe weather science lab they have here at the Schiele Museum. We also had a couple of other exhibitors in addition to us with Carolina Weather Group and with my day job at the State Climatology Office in South Carolina. The Gaston County Library was here to show off the weather literature they have. Charlotte Area NC Air Awareness was here to talk about air quality issues. So a lot of learning was to be had here at the Schiele Museum today.
Yes, certainly indeed. What a great opportunity to come indoors and stay cool. Local libraries are also a great way to learn about weather and stay cool by going to their premises or checking out books as kids are, of course, on summer vacation. Let's talk a little bit about the heat, Frank, because as we're recording this on Saturday, it is once again heat advisory criteria, which for the Charlotte metro area means 105-degree heat index. I actually read before, as we were sitting down to record, that Amtrak is slowing speeds along that I-95 corridor from North Carolina, South Carolina, and into Florida because the heat is so hot the rails could expand.
That's right, and that's an issue that Amtrak has to deal with. That temperature changes along their rails can, for one thing, cause the rails to expand and potentially buckle, so they have to lower their speeds to prevent to reduce the amount of stress that they have on the rails as the train goes across them. And of course they have to watch those rails too, because the difference in temperature you get between the summer heat and the cold in the winter can result in some stress related cracks to form on the rails, and they have to monitor that to make sure those rails stay safe.
I grew up in the New York metro area. You've done radio for the New York metro area, and you know it certainly gets cold there. I can remember growing up, the railroads there would have a little flames, little pyrotechnic things along the tracks that would keep the switches from freezing. So when the temperatures would get cold enough, you'd actually see little fires, controlled fires, intentional fires along the rails to kind of, in this case, defrost them.
Yes.
Yeah, but what we're talking about here in July is just how hot it has been and some of the impacts from that, because we know we have seen lots of heat. We're hoping you're staying cool. And we also know that we have seen so much rain across the Carolinas. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you might be able to see if you're watching with us on Facebook and YouTube. But we've got our green screen set up here at the Schiele Museum for kids to come out and try their hand at being a broadcast meteorologist. That has been a large hit, part of our on-location education exhibit here today from the Carolina Weather Group. We've also, Tim, can you pass us one of those green gloves? Tim Pounds is here and has been helping with our on-site education, but we've been letting kids wear these green gloves, and it has just, I mean, I saw one kid's eyes, Frank, like bug out of his head when his arms disappeared.
That's right. When you have this shade of green and you're wearing it, there we are. When you're wearing this shade of green and you're in front of a green screen, you will not see your hand in this glove or whatever you're wearing. As I found out a few times when I've worn a green shirt as I was getting ready for Carolina Weather Group. And,
that's right, because you sit in front of a green screen when you
I sit in front of a green screen. And so if I'm wearing a green shirt, then unfortunately, he said anything that will appear on my chest if I'm wearing the green shirt. So I've had to change shirts a couple of times. I'm like, oops, wore a green shirt. Shouldn't have done that.
We've been telling the kids that's how they do movie magic. That's how they make people fly. That's how they make floating heads. So you can have all sorts of fun with green, and we brought the gloves out for the kids to try.
It gets used in music videos sometimes, too.
Oh, yeah. Yep, it certainly does. And it's also why you'll never see a broadcast meteorologist wearing green or blue if they happen to have a blue screen.
Right, in some cases it's a blue screen.
Yeah, but blue screens are tricky because people have blue eyes. Speaking of blue, I am sporting our new Carolina Weather Group polo. Frank is sporting one of our new Carolina Weather Group hats. And I know on the Carolina Weather Group, we have been teasing that there is a new way for you as a Carolina groupie to support and interact with our show. And you're looking at it right now. Our brand new merch store is now live. And we're very excited about this, Frank, because this is bringing our merch store back to the Carolinas. We are offering up services that are provided by Queensboro of Wilmington, North Carolina, where your hat was made, where my shirt was made, and you too can go into our merch store and purchase some of these items. So it's a great way for you to be able to support our show, but also a business right here in the Carolinas. So when you buy something from the new Carolina Weather Group merch store, you're not just buying something from an unknown retailer, you're buying it right here in the Carolinas.
Right, we're trying to support local businesses, and it's not just a polo shirt that's available. It's not just T-shirts. It's not just hats, even those toboggan hats that we might get to wear once or twice in the winter. But we also have backpacks with Carolina Weather Group's logo on it. We have, what do you call those little drawstring sacks?
There's like 165 different items, and Tim can feel me wanting to show off one of these toboggan hats because I can see him going into our box here. So this is an example of an item that is for sale from the new Carolina Weather Group merch store. They've done a wonderful job with these printings, and I'm so glad that they're offering a way for you guys at home to get some of these items. There's so many items, Frank, that I think some of our Carolina Weather groupies are going to show off or show up with items that even we don't have, because we've got a handful. We've got this drawstring bag that says Carolina Weather Group on it. There you go. You can see it there. Here, we'll go over to the Frank cam. There we go. So you get a drawstring bag, hats, shirts, all sorts of lovely things. And I'll say too, they do offer sales. So part of what Queensboro does is they put different items on sale each week, and some of those sales do apply to our Carolina Weather Group e-store. So you will be hearing about it each week here on the Carolina Weather Group, and we're so glad to be able to partner with them and bring some of these items to you. Matter of fact, thanks to their cooperation, we do want to let you know that Queensboro is a place that when you're building your brand, every detail matters, including what you wear. And Queensboro Shirt Company makes it easy with easy ordering, free logo setup, and no hidden fees. That's exactly what we have done here at the Carolina Weather Group. For more than 40 years, they've helped people and businesses share who they are with the world. Quality embroidery and printing. It's an honest pricing, small business friendly, and genuine care. Plus, there's a no returns necessary guarantee. Means that you can try them risk-free. So you can go to Queensboro.com to see for yourself why they're the top-rated custom logo apparel company on the internet. And, I thought the same thing, Frank, when we first got our items. If there was any problem, they have that no returns necessary guarantee. You just reach out to their customer support, and they are dedicated to trying to make it right.
Right, but we didn't have any problems.
We didn't have any problems. So, it was a nice safety net to know it was there. But and they were very friendly when we spoke with them and engaged with them. But I didn't have to return a single item because this is exactly how it showed up. And I would even sport this on my head right now, but it is too warm in July to do that.
Right, about 93 out there right now, I think.
So warm. So we're going to take a quick break here in the Carolina Weather Group, and we'll be back from the Schiele Museum, Natural History in Gastonia, North Carolina, right after this.
And let you guys see what it is that I'm experiencing.
Trying to get a direct measurement with a handheld kestrel anemometer here. We'll see what we can pick up, but and there goes change.
When a tornado-warned cell came through the neighborhood and it brought down several large pines, just like the one you're seeing right here behind me. To give you a sense of what the aftermath of storm damage smells like, it smells very heavily of pine and also sounds like chainsaws. We have another tree down here. This one just barely missing this brick home.
I mean, this is incredible. Let me turn the camera around. Get us back into kind of a dry view.
And I get up here, and all of a sudden, the storm surge started. And all of a sudden, I ended up with about 4 feet of water.
I'm Scotty Powell here reporting just outside of Sparta, North Carolina, where you've seen a lot of the earthquake damage. Again, a 5.1 magnitude earthquake rocked Sparta, North Carolina earlier this morning, just after 8 a.m.
if you're going to look at the footing of that, you'll see where it was a twist. Very severe wind that caused the destruction.
From Gaston County to back here in Mecklenburg County, those were just 2 of the tornado warnings that were issued here for the greater Charlotte area.
I'm not one for hyperbole, but it's countless at this point. There's trees on houses, there's a lot of roads that are blocked. We're just trying to get cleaned up so people can get through.
Have you ever seen the Dan River like this before?
No, not that I can recall. I mean, I've seen it fairly flooded before, but I've never seen it to where we're now kind of asking ourselves, okay, a couple more feet and it might get over those bridges.
Welcome back to the Carolina Weather Group on location at Extreme Weatherproof here at the Schiele Museum of Natural History in Gastonia. I'm James Brierton. Joining me, Melissa Griffin, the assistant climatologist for South Carolina. And you guys have a wonderful table each and every year here at Weatherproof. It is like competing tables. There is no out-competing Melissa's table. But we want to talk about some of the things that you have on your table in case anyone wasn't able to see them. And let's talk about the weather or the rain gauge that's in your hand here.
Yeah, you know me. I do love to talk about CoCoRaHS.
Yes.
So for those who may be new to the Carolina Weather Group's podcast or even just new to the Carolinas in general, CoCoRaHS stands for Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network. It is a citizen science project that's been a part of the Carolinas since about 2007.
Okay.
And between the 2 states, we probably have about 1,000 observers that help take those supplemental rainfall observations every morning. That data is ingested by National Weather Service and used by emergency management, ourselves at the State Climate Office here in South Carolina, also in North Carolina as well. And it kind of helps fill in those gaps where we might be missing rain, because we've all seen it before. It rains on one side of the street and it doesn't rain on the other. So that really does kind of help, fill in those data gaps.
So about 1,000 people across the Carolinas who are just like you at home, and they're taking these measurements, and it's not just for funsies. It makes a difference.
It does. It really does make a difference. So, talking about like the extreme rainfall side of things, CoCoRaHS observers have been instrumental in capturing some of the most extreme rain that we've had across the 2 states, and that's everything from Matthew in 2016, Florence in 2018, Debbie just last year, along with Helene, and on the other side of that too, having those observers tell us where it hasn't rained and where it has rained, where those zeros are, is really important when it comes to drought monitoring across the 2 states.
I would imagine North Carolina, if they were on with us today, Corey would probably be telling us about Chantal recordings and records, because we know we had so much data come in from all of that. Can you share the gauge one more time, Melissa, for those who are watching? Where can I get a gauge like this?
So if you go to CoCoRaHS.org, so that's going to be CoCoRaHS.org.
We will link it somewhere.
Thank you very much, James. You can get that. There are a couple of storefronts that we have that we've partnered with that you can buy the rain gauge from. It is also available on Amazon. It runs between $35 and about $40, which I know is a price point for some people. But the great thing about this rain gauge, it's high capacity. It'll hold 11 inches of water. So the interior tube holds 1 inch, and the exterior tube will hold an additional 10 inches of rain, which is really important when we're trying to capture those extreme events.
We're kind of hoping you don't get 11 inches of rain in one day, but as we've seen, it is possible.
It is possible for us to get that. And, we had a couple of observers up in the Raleigh area with the remnants of Chantal that had over, 8-9 inches of rain that reported. Again, that data is instrumental when it comes to being able to analyze it and share it amongst those who need to make those decisions.
And to be official CoCoRaHS observation, it has to be in that gauge, right?
It has to be in that gauge. We like to have everyone using the same gauge, so it's consistency. It's standardization across all the instruments, so we can do comparisons from one dot and to a next dot. We all know that everybody's using the same instrumentation.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about some of the other wonderful educational materials you had out on your table here on this Saturday. I took a picture of it, but I'm going to try to hold it up too, because I thought this was really genius. I can't get all of them right now. But you guys had these little pocket size. Here, I can hold it up to the camera. These little pocket size weather safety guides, because the Climate Office in South Carolina, correct me if I'm wrong, is inside of the Department of Natural Resources. So you guys touch upon fishing, and hunting and all sorts of outdoor activities.
That's correct. The motto is live life outdoors for our agency. And so the important thing is that when you're spending time outdoors, you need to be weather smart. And so we partnered with the Weather Ready Nation, became ambassadors. And this was one of those projects that has kind of it's grown over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Started off with just a couple of things, and we've gotten a little bit better. So the pocket safety cards have on the front of them a QR code that somebody can just scan, takes them to the National Weather Service main page where they can get more information. And then on the back of the card is going to be 3 top weather things to be aware of, depending on what type of outdoor activities that they might be doing. So for this one, for like camping, talking about being, aware of any changes with temperature, wind, and then also sky conditions. One of the big things is when thunder roars head indoors, it's kind of hard to do when you're outside. So you really need to be kind of aware of your situation and those billowing white clouds that are forming around you.
Yeah, we had a conversation with a gentleman who stopped by the museum today. He spends a lot of time out on the golf course, and he was asking about ways to stay informed about the weather. And there's all sorts of ways we could talk about high tech and low tech, but I said as soon as you start to see some of those clouds, that's like one of your first signs.
Yeah.
Clouds doesn't guarantee rain, but rain guarantees clouds.
Exactly. So, we were talking to the same guy, and he was asking me, what should I be looking at? And it's like, well, if you see the big white billowing clouds building, we've had instances where lightning is struck, more than 20 miles from the parent storm. And so if you see a cloud starting to build in the distance and it's, starting to look a little ominous, that might be an indication before you even hear lightning you hear thunder or see lightning, that maybe you need to start taking those precautions to be a little bit more weather aware of what's going on.
I think you're right, because we say a lot of times when you hear the thunder go indoors, but that thunder indicates that one strike has occurred already.
Yeah.
And we were, I think it's safe to say, so incredibly lucky that there weren't more serious injuries out of that Lake Murray incident.
Yes. So, and that's one of the things. I mean, it's so much fun to be outside, and especially the summertime. Lightning safety is one of the key points. And, we've got little floaties that we pass out at these events for our boaters that say, when thunder roars, head to shore.
Mm-hmm.
But we also make sure that we tell them, hey, if you see those clouds building off in the distance, that's an indication that you could start to get some winds, which is also going to cause a hazardous condition to be out in the boat. So, just keep aware of the weather that's going on around you so that you can make sure that you get to an area of safety when the severe weather strikes.
We've been talking on the show, especially in recent weeks, about the flooding, the devastating flooding that happened in Texas. We know we've had a lot of flooding here in the Carolinas. When people are out and about, even just for regular summer activities, they're at the beach in Myrtle Beach, what are some of the ways they can stay informed about severe weather?
So one of the biggest things is, of course, we all have our phones, and the emergency alert system will sound on our cell phones. But probably one of the other things that we've really been trying to get people to look into is a NOAA weather radio. NOAA weather radio has been around for decades, and it has saved many lives. The great thing about NOAA weather radio, you can take it everywhere. And one of the things that the National Weather Service and our partners have talked about is having multiple ways to get alerts. So, the phone is one way to get an alert. The weather radio is another way to get that particular alert. And they come in different shapes and sizes. So James has got one right here.
I got one. And viewers of the show know I've got several at home. But this one I like in particular for our conversation, Melissa, because this is one that you can take outdoors recreationally because it plays AM, FM, and Bluetooth music. But it has that built-in NOAA weather radio. And you don't have to worry about it running out of battery because it's got a solar panel on the back. And then it's got a hand crank. So if you get into an emergency situation, even if it's nightfall, you could crank it up and always have not only a way to receive communications, but also on this particular model, you could charge your cell phone off.
You could charge it, yeah. And weather radios have come a long way from, the early 80s, the 90s, and everything. Yep. So most of them are solar powered now. You still have the hand crank on a lot of the weather radios. Some of them are USB rechargeable batteries. Yep. You can put batteries in them. So, and they come, as small as like almost the size of a phone that you can slip into a pocket, which we actually had one of our attendees here today who had the NOAA weather radio in his pocket. And so, that's one of the things is having those multiple ways to get alerts. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Jay showed up with a little one that was, as you said, quite literally in his pocket. I've got some that clipped to my belt. Before I let you go, Melissa, you've got a poll here to represent storm surge, because that is one of the ways people need to stay abreast of severe weather threats is that flooding situation that we see sometimes with tropical systems.
Exactly. And so, yeah, we're in Charlotte, so we might be a little bit removed from the coast. But, you know, everybody has this visualization, this idea in their head of what like 3, 6, 9 feet of storm surge actually looks like. So took an idea and kind of ran with it and built what's a model of the similar storm surge pole that sits outside the National Hurricane Center in the Miami, just so that people can kind of get an idea when they actually look at it. Wow, that really is 9 feet. And, you know, I've had a couple people that have looked at that and they've looked up at it and they've gone, wow, that's pretty high for 9 feet, you know, and just having that concrete visual really does help sometimes hit it home.
Yeah, here's some video of me standing next to the pole. I'm about 6'2", and it really does help drive home the point. So, Melissa, always great to see you.
Thank you so much.
I hope people find your table again out there so they can come experience your table in person. But we'll have more on location here from the Schiele Museum in Gastonia, North Carolina, right after this. You're watching the Carolina Weather Group.
Oh, and there goes Chantal.
When a tornado-warned cell came through the neighborhood and it brought down several large pines, just like the one you're seeing right here behind me. To give you a sense of what the aftermath of storm damage smells like, it smells very heavily of pine and also sounds like chainsaws. We have another tree down here. This one just barely missing this brick home.
Down here. I mean, this is incredible. Let me turn the camera around. Get us back into kind of a dry view.
And I get up here, and all of a sudden, storm surge started. And all of a sudden, I ended up in about 4 feet of water.
I'm Scotty Powell here reporting just outside of Sparta, North Carolina, where you've seen a lot of the earthquake damage. Again, a 5.1 magnitude earthquake rocked Sparta, North Carolina earlier this morning, just after 8 a.m.
If you're going to look at the footing of that, you'll see where it was a twist. Very severe wind that caused destruction.
From Gaston County to back here in Mecklenburg County, those were just 2 of the tornado warnings that were issued here for the greater Charlotte area.
I'm not one for hyperbole, but it's countless at this point. There's trees on houses, there's a lot of roads that are blocked. We're just trying to get cleaned up so people can get through.
Have you ever seen the Dan River like this before?
No, not that I can recall. I mean, I've seen it fairly flooded before, but I've never seen it to where we're now kind of asking ourselves, okay, a couple more feet and it might get over those bridges.
We're back with Carolina Weather Group here, and I have with me now at the Schiele Museum in Gastonia, I have Candace.
Hello.
Whose last name has escaped me.
Jordan,
that's right.
It's Jordan.
Should be able to remember that. I am ashamed.
It's okay.
Anyway.
You remember all the important stuff, which is like weather and climate and my first name, so we're good.
Right. Anyway, Candace is here to talk with us about what she does here at the Schiele Museum, what the Schiele Museum does, and also a little bit more. Like, for example, Candace Jordan was for a while a TV meteorologist, and she was at WNCT in Greenville, North Carolina. And we will talk with her for a minute or two about the flooding that area and places off to the west toward the Triangle and Triad have experienced with Chantal and with a stationary front that came to follow. So tell us, Candace, a little more about your perspective of the flooding as having been a TV meteorologist in that part of the world.
Yeah, so I remember specifically covering Hurricane Matthew in eastern North Carolina back in 2016, and the Neuse River, it was awful. And I feel like we talked about river levels for weeks and weeks and weeks after. You know, looking at the Texas flooding, looking at the flooding in central North Carolina, I think in my mind, one of the first things that comes up is like, guys, this is a real sign of climate change. And I feel like sometimes it's hard for people to really put their finger on things. And for me, that's kind of like a sign for people to be like, heads up, like we're getting more rain events that are heavy rain in nature. We're becoming more urban, and the ground just can't handle everything that the rain is producing. So.
Right. When you change the terrain, you really change how runoff occurs and the amount of runoff that you have to deal with. So when you change the landscape from one where you have soil and grass and other vegetation that can soak up some of that moisture, to one where you have asphalt and concrete where the water just runs off. You really have to account for that in your planning when you're developing land in that way. So that's something to think about. And one of the things we've learned from that, other floods in the Texas floods that have occurred recently as well, that we may need to reevaluate the things we keep in the things we do in a river floodplain.
Yeah, and being that I'm in a museum, we talk to children a lot, just families and things like that. And one thing I love to talk to people with is like, what's the difference between a flood and a flash flood? Because surprisingly, a lot of people, they get confused on. They both have the word flood. What does it mean? And I always talk about how, a flood is like when we get rain over multiple days and you just get a lot of rain, the ground can soak up a lot, but there's a point where like the ground just can't take anymore, and that's when the excess water builds up. But flash flood is like you've dumped a bucket of rain on us, the ground hasn't even had a chance to try to soak it up, and therefore it's all running off.
Right.
And I think people understanding, like trying to educate people on what a flood and a flash flood is, and understanding that getting those warnings and heeding those warnings are a big idea.
Right, and also understanding where you are and the things that can happen in your part of the world. For example, flash flooding can occur anywhere, but you're not likely to see it along a river in the coastal plain of North and South Carolina. The rivers are slow to rise there. They're also very slow to fall. So when you get to flood stage, especially if it's major flood stage, those areas near the river are going to be underwater for a while.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you're in the mountains of western North Carolina or upstate South Carolina and you put a lot of rain down, the water comes up in a big hurry.
Yeah.
It goes back down fast too, but it comes up so fast. It's the rivers, we call them flashy because they behave more like a flash flood. The kind of thing you might see on a creek when you put 10 inches of rain in 3 hours in its watershed. That creek is going to rise very fast and floods in some ways that may have not previously been known to flood in recorded history.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things we watch for, and that's a flash flood, is when you have that very sudden rise in the water levels along a creek or even in just low-lying areas.
Yeah, and you were talking about kind of knowing geographically what your rivers and what your basins are doing, because out in eastern North Carolina it does happen more slowly, where mountainous areas it's quick.
And it's especially important to us here in the Carolinas because we have a lot of newcomers. We have people moving in from other parts of the country all the time, and the Carolinas are among the fastest growing part of the country right now. So it's important that if you're a newcomer here to the Carolinas, take some time to look and see what are the things that can happen here. Maybe you're from California and you understand what flash floods can do. Maybe you're from an area that doesn't usually see a flash flood. Maybe you're from California and you've never had to deal with a hurricane before, and we get those here. You never had to deal with severe weather before if you're in a place like Washington State. But we get tornadoes here in the Carolinas, so it's important to take some time to understand, maybe do some research, or just ask your neighbors, what does the weather do here?
And I think one thing, we categorize hurricanes and such, and so everybody's always like, a Cat 5 is the strongest, I must heed every warning, but they think a tropical depression, it's not really that. It's like the lowest level.
Right, complacency with quote unquote just a tropical storm or just a tropical depression gets a lot of people in trouble.
But you look at Chantal, and it was a tropical depression. And it's flooding. It's like those are the rainmakers. A lot of times are like those low level, low category ones are like the flooders, So I think people just understand that even though it's not high on a category doesn't mean it's not high in risks.
Yeah, right. And nobody in upstate South Carolina or western North Carolina after Helene should ever say, oh, it's just a tropical storm ever again.
Yes. That was... we were still talking about that to this day, and I feel like we as in meteorologists and we as a community, we're knocking on a year here in a few months since Helene, and it's still fresh in everybody's mind, I feel like.
That's right. Side note, retrospectives for Helene coming up in a few weeks here on Carolina Weather Group with that 1-year anniversary coming up. All right, so we've talked about current weather. We've talked about some concerns that have been brought back to the forefront because of that. But now let's talk a little more about the Schiele Museum in Kansas. Candace, I didn't get much sleep last night. No. And my brain's not working particularly well. Can't remember names. Thank you. More coffee.
The amount of times my name has been mistaken for the state is great.
All right, now that I'm charged up. Candace, tell us about the Schiele Museum. What do you do here? What is here to do at the Schiele Museum?
Yeah.
Aside from weatherproof once a year.
Yeah, so we love weatherproof. It always happens in July, or at least I try to make it happen in July. But the Schiele Museum is in Gastonia, North Carolina. We are a natural history museum, so we focus on the natural world and kind of our place in it. We hope to inspire curiosity. That's part of our mission, is, to get people inspired about the world that we live in. So when you come to the museum, we have the second largest planetarium in the state. So if you are excited about space and different things like that, like space is my jam. So, weather and space, they're super nerdy sciences, so I love doing those. But we also have a dinosaur exhibit. We've got gems and minerals, a big cat exhibit. You can come see lots of taxidermy animals of North America. That harkens back to our origins. So Bud Schiele, who the museum's named after, was really into taxidermy. And so you kind of see that fingerprint from him still in the museum. And then his wife Lily was very much into collecting artifacts from the Native American tribes. And so we have a whole hall of Native American artifacts, and it goes through a lot of the different tribes of North America. So you kind of see those fingerprints still here at the museum, along with some new things. But of course, dinosaurs, I feel like, takes the cake. I mean, kids love dinosaurs. Adults love dinosaurs.
My 2-year-old grandson loves dinosaurs, that's for sure.
Isn't it amazing? Like, I will talk to these, 2 and 3-year-olds, and, they're, learning to say, words, but then they're like, Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I'm like, they can say these, 20-character dinosaur names, so they can't say,
They can't say the word grandmother very clearly at age 2.5, but they can say Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Right, and we've got a brand new exhibit coming soon. It's slated tentatively for fall of next year, so 2026. It is a brand new paleo exhibit, so we're talking dinosaurs.
Awesome.
And dinosaurs, so if you have been to the museum, we've had the T-Rex in the lobby for many, many a year, and we switched it for a Quetzalcoatlus. But I know that's a mouthful to say Quetzalcoatlus. But our T-Rex is coming back, and he's bringing friends, and there's going to be fights, and it's going to be the absolute best exhibit we have ever done here.
That sounds like fun.
I'm so excited for it.
Yeah. So that's the Schiele Museum. Now tell me more about what you do.
Yeah, so I'm the head of education here at the museum. So I help to, basically anything that goes out into the public, I help to facilitate or empower my employees to facilitate. So for example, Weatherproof, that's my event, that's my baby, of course, because I love weather.
She's a meteorologist, y'all.
I am. So naturally, I love weather. And so, we get to highlight people like you guys, the Carolina Weather Group, and other really cool vendors here who do really important things for the weather community. And not a lot of people may or may not know about them, but they're doing lots of great stuff. And then we get to offer different presentations and tabletop activities. Today, kids got to blow into an anemometer to see if they could blow as fast as a hurricane. Spoiler alert, they can't.
Nowhere close, right?
Nowhere close. But, they tried their hardest. I saw
did any of them get to the tropical storm range?
I don't think so. At least not the kids. Adults is a little different. We got a little more lung capacity, but the kids tried really hard. We had severe weather presentations. Emory today was rocking a fire tornado, and we put some color changing stuff. So it was a rainbow fire tornado, which is so not real, but we're here to inspire curiosity, okay? So we're having fun.
It was semi-realistic. You could see the way there were even little suction vortices that would show up in there. So really cool.
I know. I love looking at the intricacies of it. It's so fun. You ever want to nerd out? Come find me at the museum. We will nerd out hard.
Yeah, we have a good time with pyro tornadoes. Well, you talked to us a little bit about weatherproof as well, and that was going to be my next question, but you just about covered it there. So what else would you like to tell us?
Yeah, so we have Bug Day in August, and then we have a whole fall calendar that'll be coming out. So SchieLeMuseum.org is the best place to find kind of all the events that'll be coming up. We do everything from kind of like artsy pumpkin workshops to Bug Day, where we'll have a bug eating contest. So you should definitely come back, Frank, and eat some bugs.
No, thank you. I'll stick to chocolate.
I will say, I have tasted the crickets. To me, that just tastes like cardboard. It's like eating mulch. That's what crickets taste like to me.
That's not very inspiring. You're not going to get me to try bugs by telling me it tastes like mulch.
I have been a very well-rounded person working at the museum now because, not only am I expressing like the meteorologist side of me all the time, but I've learned so much about paleontology and zoology and biology, and it's fun. I feel like I'm a very well-rounded person. I can say I've ate crickets.
All right. Finally, social media. How do we find do we find the Schiele Museum on Facebook and X/Twitter and other? You personally too.
Yeah. So the Schiele Museum. There's a couple of different small iterations. The Schiele Museum is what you can find on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and then you can find me, Candace Jordan, on YouTube and Instagram.
Excellent. All right, well, Candace, thanks for being with us, and thanks for putting this event together. It's always a lot of fun. This is my third one, so I've been back every year, and looking forward to the one we hopefully do next year.
Yeah.
So, again, thanks for being with us, and thanks to the Schiele Museum for having us here.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, that's it for this segment of Carolina Weather Group, and we have a word coming up for you before we'll have more with the Carolina Weather Group in just a couple of minutes.
And let you guys see what it is that I'm experiencing.
Trying to get a direct measurement with a handheld Kestrel anemometer here. We'll see what we can pick up, but and there goes Chantal.
When a tornado-warned cell came through the neighborhood and it brought down several large pines, just like the one you're seeing right here behind me. To give you a sense of what the aftermath of storm damage smells like, it smells very heavily of pine and also sounds like chainsaws. We have another tree down here. This one just barely missing this brick home.
Down here. I mean, this is incredible. Let me turn the camera around, get us back into kind of a dry view.
And I get up here, and all of a sudden, storm surge started. And all of a sudden, I ended up with about 4 feet of water.
I'm Scotty Powell here reporting just outside of Sparta, North Carolina, where you've seen a lot of the earthquake damage. Again, a 5.1 magnitude earthquake rocked Sparta, North Carolina earlier this morning, just after 8 a.m.
If you go look at the footing of that, you'll see where it was a twist. Very severe wind that caused these structures.
From Gaston County to back here in Mecklenburg County, those were just 2 of the tornado warnings that were issued here for the greater Charlotte area.
I'm not one for hyperbole, but it's countless at this point. There's trees on houses, there's a lot of roads that are blocked. We're just trying to get cleaned up so people can get through.
Have you ever seen the Dan River like this before?
No, not that I can recall. I mean, I've seen it fairly flooded before, but I've never seen it to where we're now kind of asking ourselves, okay, a couple more feet and it might get over those bridges.
All right, welcome back to the Schiele Museum. Wrapping things up, I let Frank keep the main chair. Frank, what a wonderful day it was.
That sure was. A lot of fun today.
A lot of fun, and as you just heard from Candace, hopefully you get a chance, if you didn't already, to come on out and check out the Schiele Museum. Thanks to everybody who's watched this episode of the Carolina Weather Group. We made it available to our Carolina Weather Groupies on Patreon and YouTube memberships, and if not, you got to watch it premiere right here where you are watching the Carolina Weather Group right now. But if you'd like to be a part of an upcoming episode, join us Wednesday nights over on the Carolina Weather Group YouTube channel, where you can leave us a comment during our live programs and interact with our panel each and every week.
All right, we say we start at 9, but 9:08.
Yeah, 9 on Wednesdays.
15-ish.
Air quotes.
Maybe.
But we appreciate everyone across the Carolinas checking in with us each and every week. Stay cool out there. Summer is still got a while to go, and we want you to stay safe. But on behalf of Frank Strait, Tim Pounds, Candace Jordan, Melissa Griffin, and everyone here at the Schiele Museum, I'm James Brierton. We'll talk to you again next week. Bye-bye. Everyone thought it was going to try. Oh, that camera's now really following you, Frank. Wow. Whoa. Why did that
I made it flinch.